Hello and welcome to Coding the Classics in Scratch. My name is Dan and today we're going to remake a classic game using the free Scratch coding environment. The game we will be looking at in this session is called Parachute. This was originally released in 1981 as a Game & Watch from Nintendo. These games ran on a dedicated handheld unit using an LCD screen and a cell button battery for power. Essentially a modified digital watch, these simple devices predate popular portable games consoles like the Game Boy by a few years. Like most classic games, the concept is very simple. Move your dinghy left and right to catch the falling parachutists. As you progress, the number of characters to catch increases, as does the rate at which they fall. We'll be making a few changes to the gameplay as we are no longer confined to the hardware of the time. If you haven't already, I would highly recommend watching the previous Coding and Scratch video, as I go over the basics of using Scratch and I'll be making callbacks to things I've previously discussed. With that sorted, let's get started. Okay, so as before, you can either use Scratch as an app on your desktop, or you can go online and find it in your browser. Just go to scratch.mit.edu and you'll have the Scratch homepage, and at the top, just click on Create. So here we are back at our workspace. This time, we're going to be using custom sprites. In the description below, there's a link to a folder containing the assets in a zipped up file. Download this file, unpack it. These are the assets we're going to be using in our game. When you're ready, choose a sprite, upload sprite. Navigate to your assets folder. We're going to be using our boater to start with. Scratch, you're not needed. Alright, so here's our boater. Let's set him square in the middle, horizontal and vertically. Great, looks a little bit small to me. I think we're going to make him a little bit bigger. 125, that looks good to me. Okay, so we want to control him. We want so that when the game is started, if you press the left key, he goes left. If you press the right key, he goes right. There's no other directions for the boater in this game. So we go across to events. When the green flag is clicked, that's our starting point, our starting block. Now, if that flag is pressed forever, because we want it to be constant checking if we're pressing the left and right buttons. If we are pressing left, then go left. So over here in sensing, if key something pressed, then we want to change his position on the x-axis. So if we go across to motion, change x by 10. Great. Let's duplicate this. Right click, duplicate. There we go. If the left arrow is pressed, then change x by 10. And if the right arrow is pressed, then change x by 10. Now, if we're going left, that means we're going to negative numbers because 0 is in the middle, minus 240 plus 240. So we want to say change x by minus 10. Great. Let's put it in here. Let's try it out. Go. Left key, right key, left key. Brilliant. Okay, that's pretty good, isn't it? But again, we're going off screen. That's not ideal. So we need to get our block. If on edge bounce. Put that down here. Okay, let's continue. Start, stop. Ah, there's an issue. It's a cute little bug in Scratch. It does this. But there's a very easy fix for this. We can go to our direction in the sprite properties, set it to 90 and tell it, do not rotate. So now it's locked facing 90 degrees. All right, let's try now. Great, lovely stuff, moving left and right as he should. If it's too slow, you can change the variables in here. Obviously, the lower the number the slower he moves, the higher the faster he moves. Okay, but look at him kind of floating up in the air. That's not ideal. Let's look at our backdrop so we know where to place him on the map. So we go in here to choose a backdrop, upload backdrop. That's our background for this game. Let's go back to code. In this tab, you can draw it in, add colours, add art, graffiti, wherever you want, but we're not going to do that today. Let's go back to code, back to our boater. Okay, and I think we want to move him about here-ish. A bit too low, because let's have a nice minus 100. That's a great point. Okay, so that's where he's going to be in the game. Trying to desperately catch the falling men. Okay, lovely stuff. So that's our movement, our player control movement, pretty much done. Okay, so now we have our boater, we now need a diver, which means we need to add a new sprite. So again, down here in the bottom right, choose a sprite, upload sprite, assets folder, diver. Double click him. Okay, great. So our diver behaves like this. He appears at the top of the screen at a random position and falls down. Super simple to set up. We go across to events. When the green flag is clicked, we want him to go to the very top of the screen, which means we need to set the Y position. So motion, set Y2, and let's enter a very high number in here. Great, so he's going to appear at the top of the screen. Next up, we want him to appear at a random position on the X axis. So again, we want to set X to something. Set X to 98, that's no good. It's always going to fall in the same place. We need to put a random number in here. Over in operators, we have a pick random unit. Pick random. So as you know, the screen is 0, minus 240, plus 240. So if we put, say, minus 200 and plus 200 in here, we've got a nice line across the top of the screen here. All right, let's see what happens. Let's test this out. There he is. Great. So he's appearing at the top of the screen. Now we need him to fall down at a constant rate. Now we do this one of two ways. Go over to control and forever change Y. And because we want him to go down the screen, we need to enter a negative number. So when the green flag is clicked, he's going to appear at the top of the screen at a random horizontal point, and it's going to drop by 5 every cycle. Let's try. There he is. That's great. Okay, good stuff. Random intervals, falling constantly. Now, this is all very well, but in the original game, the more men you rescued and the higher your score got, the quicker they fell. So we don't want change Y to be a set variable. We want it to be something that can change as we go along. So we need to create a whole new variable which we can add numbers to each time we catch a man in the boat. So we want to create a new variable over in variables. We can call this one fall speed. Our new variable is called fall speed, and because we have it, we need to set it. So when the green flag is clicked, we're going to set the fall speed to -5. That's a nice sedate speed to start with, and of course we're going to use the unit in here. Great, so now every time the speed changes, we don't need to do anything. It's automatically going to update itself and get faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. Lovely. Great. Now another thing. When he was falling in a straight line. That's not very exciting. It's going to be very easy to predict where he's going to land, and you can get there and you'll be safe. What I thought we'd do is we'd incorporate a little bit of wind so that he'll be buffeted left and right to add a bit more peril, a bit more danger to the game. Let's go across to motion and change X by, and again we want another pick random. And I think, so obviously -200 and 200, that'd be crazy. It'd be all over the screen. That'd be impossible. So I think -10 and +10 is pretty good. All right, let's try this one out. Nice. Good amount of wobble in that one. That was good. Try again. Yep, that's great. Okay, lovely stuff. Okay, so we just need to throw in a safety measure. If on edge bounce, we'll throw that in there. And again, we'll lock him in this direction, 90 degrees. Right, so that's our diver sorted out. So the next stage is to wonder what will happen when he touches the boat or misses and falls in the shark-infested waters. All right, let's just make some quick room over here. All right, so I reckon that this is where we'll be doing the bulk of our lifting in this workshop. let's set up some more variables, because we know as we go along we're going to need a score meter and we need some live. So let's set those up now. So if we go across to variables, we can set 2 variables. We're going to call one score and call the other one lives. Great. And of course we're going to set these at the very start. So set and set. We're going to set lives to 3 and we'll set score to 0 as we go along. Great. Okay. Now, what happens if a diver lands in the boat? Well, we want to add 1 to the score. We want the diver to disappear and reappear at the top of the screen, and this time fall slightly faster. So, we can start introducing an if statement. Control. If. And we want to trigger it on touch. We want collision detection. So, if the diver touches the boat, do something. So again, over in sensing, we go for touching. If your diver touches the boater, then do something. In our case, we want to change score by 1. Great, so we add 1 onto the score. We want to change our fall speed. Because we're in the minuses, we want to change that to minus 0. Let's say 3. That's a nice steady rate of increase. We also want the sprite to disappear, which means we're going to want to get a looks hide block. So the sprite will disappear. Now, good housekeeping, because we've got a hide here, it's a good idea to put a show right here too. So when it reboots, when it continues the cycle, it won't be invisible. It'll reappear when it restarts. So that's handy. And now what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a clone. A clone means it'll basically copy the sprite with all its data, and we don't have to do anything else. So it's basically copy what we already have. So go across to control, create a clone of myself, and more good housekeeping, delete this clone. Okay, so if we touch the boater, we add 1 to the score, we change the fall speed by 0.3, we disappear, and we create a whole new one, and we delete this one. Okay, great stuff. It's pretty good. Put this down here. What happens if we touch the water? What happens if we miss? Now we need to add a new sprite. In a few games, particularly old games, old platform games, if you fall off a cliff in, say, Mario, and you drop down the hole, you don't drop forever. You'll drop down until you hit an invisible sprite or a certain set of coordinates. We're going to incorporate a little sprite that if the diver touches this sprite, it's game over. So you lose a life and the cycle starts over again. So down here in our assets folder, so choose a sprite, upload sprite, assets, there's a thing called a kill line. Okay, now we can't see this because it's invisible, but we can know where it's going to be from the coordinates we put in the sprite properties. So if we set the x to 0, and if we set the y to as low a number as we can do, so minus 200, our kill line is now safely down here. We can't see it, but it's definitely there. So our next mission is to create another one of these, but focusing on the kill line. So if we go to if statement, if we are touching the kill line. So if we're touching the kill line, we're going to reset our speed. So we can copy this across. Okay, so if we hit the kill line, full speed is reset to -5. Okay, we want the sprite to disappear. To hide. We want to take off a life, so variable, change lives by -1. Okay. And as before, create clones. Create a clone of myself and delete this one. Okay, so great. If we miss the boat and touch the kill line, the fall speed is reset. We change our lives by -1. It disappears, and we create a whole new one, and we delete this one. Okay, let's add this to our now giant block of code. Okay, so we've talked about creating a clone, so now we need to dictate what happens when you start as a clone. So what we're going to do, when I start as clone block, okay, we're going to copy pretty much all of this. So we want to grab from show downwards, grab this. We don't want to grab our variables because that means when he dies or you catch him in the boat, it's all going to reset, and that's not what we want to do. So we only keep these here at the very start of the program. Right click on this and we'll duplicate this. Something there, something there. And you can see already it started off, we've already got people falling down the screen. That's lovely. Okay. All right. So our code runs, we hit the green flag, score is set to 0, live set to 3, full speed set to -5. We're going to appear as Sprite. He's going to appear at the top of the screen on a random point between 200 and -200. He's going to fall at a set speed. He's going to wobble this much. And if he touches the boat, you get a point. Speed goes up. He disappears. He creates a new one. This one's deleted. Same if he touches the kill line. Full speed is reset. Lives are changed by -1. He disappears and creates a clone. Delete this clone. All right. Well, let's see what happens then. Let's test our game. Green flag. We can see score 0, lives are 3. I've caught him. Speed's going up. Lives going up. This is good news. And if I miss him, lives go down, speeds reset. Lives go down, speeds reset. Speed's going up, score's going up. Speed's going up, score's going up. Miss him, reset. Okay, great. Perfect, but we get into -1. So now we need to control what happens when it's game over. What happens when you run out of lives? So let's make a little room over here. Thinking about what happens when we run out of lives. So again, we want to be asking the question, if we have lives, what happens? And if we haven't got lives, what then? So if we go across to control again, and we'll have an if. Now we need a comparator. We need something to compare the number of lives we have against a number. So again, that's over in operators. And we want to be thinking about lesser than, which is this one. If something is less than something else, do something else. We want to say if lives are less than 1, meaning if lives are 0, then do something. And again, our variable block is over here. What's it going to do? Well, we want the sprite to disappear. So over here in looks, going to hide the sprite. And we're going to stop this script. Control, stop this script. Now it's important we don't have all, because that means if we stop everything, we won't be able to have a new game based on a button press. We'll have to start with green flag and red flag and so on and so on. That's very cumbersome. So here's our code. If lives are less than 1, meaning if they're 0, then hide and stop. There'll be no more falling down, guys. All right, let's see what happens. Put that in there. Let's run our code. Nicely done so far. Okay, let's lose a life, lose a 1 life, lose 2 lives, lose 3 lives. Brilliant. Now, let's do some cool things. Let's stop our code here. So our game is pretty much done, ostensibly. Let's throw in some cool sound effects, because we all know they're awesome. So we want to go across to the sounds tab. Let's add some sounds into our empty sound library. We're going to want 2 sounds. We want a sound that triggers when you land in the boat, like a chime or a beep, something to tell you you've got a point. And we want another sound when you enter the water that indicates you've done wrong. And there's going to be penalties for that. So let's have a look what we've got here. Scroll through here. We got coin. That sounds good. Okay, that'll be good. So when you enter the boat, you get a little chime. That's good. Again, choose whatever you want. Maybe you can think of a better one. Or again, you can add your own. But we're going to use this one for now. So it's very loud. Let's make it a bit quieter. That's great. Lovely. Okay, so we've got our reward sound. Let's have a negative sound. So let's have a... look for one. I think I'm going to search. I don't fancy scrolling through that. Let's have a... If you enter the water, you'll make a splash. Great. Got a few splashes here. Let's add that. Yeah, that sounds perfect. And again, it's a bit loud, isn't it? All right, go back to our code. We can add these sounds. So when we hit the boat, we want it to make a good ding, a good chime. So start sound, we want it to start with a coin. Start sound coin. So in the boat, it makes a coin. If we miss the boat, it's going to make a splash. Okay, great, simple as that. So to copy that over for our clones, coin. Doesn't really matter where it goes, it's just in there somewhere. All right, let's try this one out. Start. Good. Okay, great stuff. Chime sound, kill sound. Oof. It's pretty good. All right, so functionally, we're done. Our game is up and running. We have our boat moving. We have the guys falling from the sky. We have a score. We have lives. All these things are ready to run in our functional game. Now let's think about fine tuning. Let's think about finishing our game. Let's think about title screens. Let's think about a live indicator. All these other things to round off and make something really quite impressive. Okay, let's start thinking about a way to keep track of lives on the screen. In the original game, every time the man falls in the water, he's eaten by a shark and a little grinning shark appears on screen. And that's what we're going to do in our game. So again, we're going to go across to choose a sprite, upload sprite. We're going to upload our shark. Great. We're going to want 3 of these to indicate the 3 lives. So we just right click and duplicate and duplicate. Now we want our lives to appear at the bottom right of the screen. Good place as any. So we take our first sprite, which is just here. We're going to set him to, let's say, 200 across. And let's have minus 150 down. That's a pretty good position. Okay, so he's here. So let's set up our other sharks next to him. So next sprite, again, will be minus 150. So same horizontal. But we're going to put him at 160. 160. Good position. And finally, our other guy will also be at minus 150. We'll put him at 120. Okay, these are our 3 life indicators. But as you can see, now they're on screen and always going to be on screen. That's not ideal. We want them all to disappear and then reappear at the right time. So let's try. We want our sprites to appear when you lose a life. So that means when the green flag is clicked, they shouldn't be visible. So it's really easy. Let's go to our first shark and we'll say when the green flag is clicked, looks hide. Okay. Great, simple. So let's copy this for all of our sharks. So he's got it, and he's got it. So if I click the green flag, they've all gone. Great. Now we need to tell it what to do when you appear, when a life is lost. Now, any code I put in here only applies to the shark. Similarly, with the diver, all this code only applies to the diver. There's a way for an action in this to impact on another sprite, and we call that broadcasting. We can set it to broadcast, so it'll send a little message to another sprite, and it goes, oh, I've received the broadcast, I'm now ready to do something. So, for example, in here, we can say, if you touch the kill line, we're going to send a message saying, hey, he's died. The sprite goes, he's died. I'm going to appear on screen now. So let's go across to events. And we're going to say broadcast. Broadcast. And our message is died. Died. Okay. Let's duplicate that. We need 2 of them. So if we're touching the kill line, send this message. Send this message. Doesn't matter where it goes, just in there. Okay. So now the shark sprites are going to be listening out for this. And if you go, I've received killed, I've got to do something now. So when I receive died, we want to do something. We want it to be constantly checking that if the lives are a certain value, do something. And that something is show. So this is our very first sprite. That's one that appears at the very far end. So we want him to appear when we've only got 0 lives. So 3 lives, 2 lives, 1 life, 0 lives. So if equals, if lives equals 0, then show. Okay, that's our rightmost sprite. Okay, great. Let's copy this code block for the other sprites. So let's do it into Shark 2 and into Shark 3. Okay, Shark 2, that's the middle sprite. We want it to appear when lives are only 1. And finally, the leftmost shark when you've got 2 lives. So meaning when you've lost a life, he's going to appear. When you lose 2 lives, he's going to appear. And when you lose 2 lives, he's going to appear. All right, well, let's see what happens then. It's falling. Oh, he tried to get away. I got him. Still working. But shark 1 appears. Shark 2 appears. And shark 3 appears. That's great. Okay, that's our live counter. It's working pretty well. Now let's add our title screen, and this is where things get a bit tricky. We're going to start thinking about adding more broadcast messages. Okay, so now everything's in place. Let's finish this off with a nice title screen. We need to add it as a sprite, so if we go to our add new sprite down the bottom right here, choose a sprite, upload a sprite, and we're going to have title screen. Okay, so here's our sprite. It's a bit wobbly. Again, we want it in the middle, so 0 and 0. Great, slap bang in the center. Lovely. Again, if you don't like it, you can go over to costumes and you can redesign it or add it or tamper with it or do anything like. Go nuts, fill your boots. All right. This is going to behave like a sprite. Now I need to make a few changes because now when we press the green flag, this is the first thing we want the player to see. Okay, which means we need to take our events when the green flag is clicked. So when the green flag is clicked, we want this sprite to appear. So we're going to have a looks show. Now we're going to alternate between the title screen and the game screen by using layers. Basically, when we start the game from green flag, this is going to appear as a layer on top of the actual game screen. So we need to have a block called go to front layer. Okay, so when the green flag is clicked, this is what we see, the title screen. Lovely. Let's see what happens. Great. So our code is running. You can hear it running in the background. If that wasn't here, you could still see the code's running in the background. That's not ideal. We need to change it so when the green flag, this appears, but the actual game itself doesn't start running. We need to establish a trigger. As you can see on the screen here, it says press space. So we need an event block that mirrors that. Events when the space key is pressed. So we want something to happen when we press space. We want to press space and broadcast a signal to our diver to start falling down. So we need a broadcast. Let's have a new broadcast. We can call this one start. So when the green flag is clicked, this screen's going to appear and we're going to do nothing until we get start. Let's go across to our diver then. And where it says when the green flag clicked, we want to get rid of that. So drag the blocks beneath it, put that in the bin. And when I receive start. Okay, so now we press the green flag, this will appear and it won't run in the background. We can prove this. Stop, start, green flag. The code's running. If I take away the title screen, nothing's happening. I don't want these to appear. I don't want to see these on the title screen. I want a nice, clean title screen. We can make this disappear by in the variables. We don't want full speed to appear at all. Full speed is really good for us to debug the game, but we don't need it at all. So if we click on that, it won't appear in the game. We want to hide lives and hide score. Okay, lovely stuff. So, stop, start. Great, nothing's going to happen, but if I press space, the game's running in the background. There you go. But that's good. But what we need to do now is that if space is pressed, we want the title screen to disappear, because that's there all the time currently. So we need another block, an event block, when I receive start. When I receive start, you've got to disappear. So, looks, hide. Okay, lovely. But if we do this, these variables won't appear anymore. So we need to reappear these variables, which is quite frustrating. So we want to variables show score. Otherwise the player won't be able to see what they're doing. Let's give this a test run. Green flag, nothing happens. I press space, it's gone. And our little mate starts falling down the screen. Score's going up. We can't see it, but the full speed is also going up, as you can tell. Oh, it's getting a bit quick. And if I let him drop, crash, crash, crash. Great, we don't need a lives meter anymore because that's our lives meter, and the full speed we don't need because it's just for debugging. So we lost 3 lives. We want to send a signal saying, hey, we've lost 3 lives. Can we have the title screen back now, please? If we go back to our diver, we can control it from there. Go down to if lives equals -1. And if lives equals -1, we want to broadcast a message saying game over. So events, broadcast a new message, game over. Okay, and back to our title screen. When I receive, game over. And again, we want our screen to appear. Okay. We want to hide the score. Hide score. All right, let's give this a whirl. Parachute, press space. The game has started, it's falling, scores appear. 2, 3. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Great, there we are. Excellent. But 2 things. We never get to see the final shark appear. That's a bit rubbish. I want all 3 sharks to appear when the game has ended. So, simple fix. For each of our sharks, we want to go to the front layer, which, if you remember, is where the title screen is. So again, looks, go to front layer, and for the other sharks as well. Go to front layer, and finally, go to front layer. Okay, superb. Let's have another go. Stop, start, space. No sharks. Score's going up. Oh, there's a shark. Shark. Game over. We have our 3 sharks. Oh no, they're all still here. And we've got random guys falling. Why are there 2 guys falling? Very simply, because when we press space again, it didn't delete the original clone. So we need to do 2 things from here. We need to set a block that says when I receive start, as in when you press space, all the sharks should disappear. So again, events. When I receive start, go away. Hide. Great, we'll copy that for the other sprites. So when I receive start, hide, shark 1, shark 2. Now the other problem, too many divers are falling. Easy fix again, we go across to diver. Let's have a new block, an event. When I receive start, control, delete this clone. So that means any leftover clones from the previous game will get wiped and you start with just having 1 guy falling down the screen. Alright, let's have a go, see what this is like. Start. Right, no sharks, press space. Game is running. Score's going up. Up. Up, speed's going up. 1 shark. 2 sharks. 3 sharks, they're on the main screen, on the game over screen, and lovely. Okay, that's great. One thing I would like to change though, is I want there to be a high score readout on the game over screen. We've hidden our score, but I want it to come up with a little block saying, hey, well done, you did this. I want your high score to be printed on screen. Super simple, again, we just need to create a variable. So we go to title screen, and we're going to create a variable. Make a variable, high score. Awesome. So when game over, we want to show high score. But we don't know what high score is. When it's game over, set high score to your score. All right. Lovely. But it also means we've got to hide it when the game starts again. So hide high score. Okay. So when the game is over, lost all our lives, we get a message that says game over. It's going to appear the title screen. This high score will be set to the score you got in the game. It's going to hide your score because you want to see that. And it's going to show you your high score. And I want to put that down here. Good thing you can just grab it and move it down here. Okay. Lovely. So I think we're pretty much there. Let's have a run. So when we start the game, no high score, no sharks. Press space to start. Falls down, falls down, falls down. Gets a bit faster, good amount of wobble. Kind of hard to get some of these guys. Falls in, splash. And there we have it. Alright, that just leaves one thing left to do. We want to hide that variable when the game starts again. So hide variable, hide high score when you receive start. One other thing I want to change. We start the game, press space. That score is a bit low. Let's bring it up to the corner, just drag and drop it. Okay. Alright, so here we are, our final test run. Let's go full screen. Okay, ready? Press space. Great, score's going up, full speed's going up. Shark's not appeared yet. Sound effects are working. 1 shark, 2 sharks, 3 sharks, game over. High score is showing, 3 sharks are showing. If I press space, back to the game. Alright, and that's us pretty much done. Okay, so that's all from me. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you have any comments, questions or queries, I'd love to hear from you. My email address is on the screen right now. And I say that's the end. It's the end for me. But for you, I hope you go on and tinker with this game somehow. Maybe you can change some of the variables, change the size of your sprites, the speed at which they move at. Maybe they're not falling fast enough, so you can crank that right up. Or maybe you want more than one guy falling at a time. And now you can work out how to do that for yourself. That'd be great. If you're ever in the centre, feel free to look me up. I'll challenge you to a game of Parachute. In the meantime, don't forget to hit like, subscribe and that notification bell. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.